Falcon fans, and of course, Falcon fans. You already know what it is. You already know what it do. Friday morning, Falcons Friday. Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm sorry. Falcon fans talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday.
How about that?
How about that? Good morning to all out there in the Falcons community. Good morning, T. Will. How's everything going for you, sir?
Good morning, Mr. Jack Spade. All is going well. I have no complaints and ready to get this Falcons talk in this morning. How about you, sir? How goes it with you?
Let me tell you something, man. I'm having a good day. Good morning so far. For my Gonzaga fans last night, big shout to Gonzaga. Big shout out to Zag Nation. They brought a team in there that thought, they can get the job done over our boys, and they didn't get the job done. So, big shout out to Gonzaga. Feeling good about that. March Madness. Big shout out to Future and Metro Boomin. Dropping that banger last night at midnight. We Don't Trust You, the album. People have been waiting on that Future and Metro Boomin album for a while, so I was happy about that too as well. And I'm up talking Falcons football with my Falcons family. Everything's going smooth today. It's going well. I must say it is going well. Falcons fans talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday. Team Will, episode 183. We are just moving on up, as they say.
Moving on up.
And what was that? That was Good Times, wasn't it? That was Good Times.
That was the Jeffersons.
That was the Jeffersons.
That was George and Wheezy.
Too many theme songs to remember from those times.
I hear that, man.
I remember
taking me back, bro.
Taking you back? Okay. Remember 227?
Vaguely.
You remember what was it? Who was that? Ronaldo Ray? Was that Ronaldo Ray? 227? Or who was that on 227?
Jack A.
Jack A. Harris.
Right. Miss or Mrs. Marla Gibbs.
227 cast members. Let me go back. Jack A. Marla Gibbs, Hal Williams, Regina King. A young Regina King was on the show too as well.
Yes, a very young Regina King. Good Times was Ain't We Lucky We Got 'Em.
Mm-hmm.
Hanging in a Chow Line is a famous which I have no idea how they got that from that.
Remember the Dave Chappelle special when they thought it was
yeah. That was his skit. Yeah, that was funny. That was funny. But yeah. Good Times, the Jeffersons, golly, other shows from the 70s and 80s that I like of that ilk. Well, 227 was more 80s. Golly, now you're really taking me back.
Falcon fans, don't get mad. I know they're probably here in the chat like, I'm driving to work. I'm trying to hear some Falcons football. Y'all talking about Good Times and George Jefferson.
Welcome back, Cotter. What's that? What's that about? Hey, man. Understood, man. But yeah, Jack, let's get into it, right? Let's get into it. So, we've been seeing all of these offensive moves, and they have been great. But some would say, well, you're giving all this love to the offense. What about the defense? What are we doing here? And I guess there's been talk of Hassan Reddick. If you haven't heard it, well, I don't know. I think we've all heard it at this point. But the Falcons are trying to piece together a trade for Hassan Reddick. I believe the demand for him this year in salary is what, $16 million?
I was talking with some of the people the other day. Yeah, somewhere between 13 and 20. We should be around.
So we would have to restructure some contracts on our end. The word on the street is that is what we're trying to do. For me, that would be almost worth two moves on defense because this guy guarantees double-digit sacks. I'm sorry, each year. So I think that would be a great step forward. And if you could get Hassan Reddick and draft Dallas Turner, that to me would be a masterstroke. So, those are my thoughts regarding the defense. And I guess, sometimes it's not about the moves you make. Sometimes it's about the right moves that you make and the ones you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean is, there could be great players out there, Jack, but does this player fit your culture? Right? How do they fit in your locker room?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are guys that are great on the field, but they are clubhouse cancers. And I'm not saying that in no way, right, am I suggesting or inferring that that's why the Falcons haven't signed defense. I think the need was receiver, right? We had one receiver. So we had to go out and get some. And clearly they were looking for a prototype. What I'm suggesting, however, is you also, whenever signing a player, you have to be mindful of the impact that this guy is going to have on your clubhouse, on your young stars, on your
Mm-hmm.
young players that are up and coming. What are your thoughts on clubhouse culture and signing free agents, Jack?
Now it's big, especially when you're bringing in veterans.
Yeah.
The Calais Campbell move, even back during the Super Bowl year with the Dwight Freeney move. Remember that?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
bringing in some of these guys where we talked about accountability, and big shout out to Walter Christopher May. He mentioned accountability and leadership about Kirk Cousins and Raheem Morris in the chat a couple weeks ago, and that's always stuck with me because I always mention that. Matt Ryan was that guy too as well,
Hmm.
who would give you that. And at times I have to say it, your boy Julio Jones was that too as well. He was a team guy.
Julio was definitely that, specifically with the receivers. Julio
Yes.
was a teacher.
Yes.
And Julio was so good at it that I think there was one year, because quite candidly, it was Julio.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what year and Matt and Julio's regime it was, but it was obviously one of the later years. But there was a particular year we said, you know what, we don't need a receivers coach because we have Julio Jones, and you could see that. You could see that in Mohamed Sanu. You could see that in Calvin Ridley is one example of that. Calvin Ridley was good coming out of Alabama, but he took his route running to another level, and I think you can attribute a lot of that to Julio. So, agreed. That's a good one there.
Big shout out to everybody in the chat too as well. Once again, Falcons fans talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday. Good morning to you all. Breakfast with One Time for the Fan. We've been doing this now for almost a month, Terry, I think.
Yep.
And the response has just been great, to say the least. Like everybody's just enjoying it because they can wake up early in the morning and there's still, the radio and Sirius XM and all these other podcasts and people talking football from all over the league. But to know that we have some diehard Atlanta Falcons fans here in the chat who love talking Falcons football with us, not only on Sundays and Wednesdays in our pop-up shows, but with our new Friday morning spot too as well. It's really cool that fans in the chat. DSGB Hall is checking in. Q Lavender's in checking in. 95 North Falcons talk show, who I just talked to about an hour ago, talking about the draft and talking about the Falcons. Me and Berto damn near did a podcast in the morning talking about the Falcons. Like he called me on. First, we talked future. We had to talk about future and Metro Boomin first.
Of course.
That future and Metro Boomin going crazy right now.
What's your prediction for that? Are they going to hit platinum?
They're 17 for 17 right now on the track list. And I haven't heard a 17 for 17 in a long time. These boys right here got some bangers. And when you talk in Atlanta, you're talking future, right? You're talking that this brother right here has just, from who he is as an artist to how he represents the city, for somebody like me who represents Atlanta well, not even just through sports, but just who I am, have been here for such a long period in my life. All the music you listen to in the world, and then you go back to Future, and it's like he brings you back home. You know what I'm saying? You go outside of Atlanta to listen to this artist and this artist and this artist and get into their zone. But when you get back to Future, it's like he's bringing me right back to Atlanta.
So
you know what I'm saying?
Future is to your generation, I guess, what Outkast was to my generation.
In
Is
a
that what you're
way,
saying?
nowadays, yes, and that's and the shout out to Outkast and everybody in the city. I'd
Shout
love
out.
for the radio stations all over the city to start playing more Outkast. I have been to different cities and heard them. Like when you go to the West Coast, you're gonna hear Snoop and Dre all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the time. You might even hear some Pac too. They will throw that on. I've lived on the West Coast. I've heard it. Versus down here, they might throw on a little Outkast here and there in their little midday mix. But we need more of that. We need people to see that Outkast was represented well in this city. Dungeon Family too as well, which is why I like Atlanta United when they bring Big Boy by, and the Falcons bringing the artists together. That is great. Gotta play more of the music too as well, because there's people that's coming up now that do not know about Pastor Troy, right? They're coming up now. They don't know about Sammy Sam. They don't know about some of the artists that was here back in the day, Baby D, Camp. You know what I'm saying? Intoxicated. Some of these people that was out there making moves in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? What's them boys? A Slim Cutter Calhoun. You know what I'm saying? The Goody Mob. These are the guys that paved a lot of the ways here in Atlanta.
They did.
You know what I'm saying? Even old T.I. We can go back to old T.I. You know what I'm saying? Trap music T.I. I'm serious T.I. You know what I'm saying? These are some artists where it's cool to turn on the radio and hear the new stuff. But sometimes when you hear a throwback song, that it just takes you to that zone.
Oh yeah.
So when I hear Outkast, it's like I can play Outkast all day. You know what I'm saying? I rock with that. So for future, for him and Metro to drop this tape, he got a lot of people talking about it. Atlanta's talking about it. He mentions Atlanta like 100 times on it. He gives you the vibe. But yeah, for the people that show up to the tailgates that know how I rock, to the parties, you know how I rock. Yeah, we definitely throwing the future in the mix. So I gotta go ahead and put that out there real quick. But chat is going crazy, man. Deshaun Coswell said, "Good morning, one timers. Time for the defense. Yeet, get some.
Get some. Get some.
There it is right here. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, Falcon fans. Drake True Statements in the chat. He said, got my flying biscuit breakfast and tuned in. What's good, fellas? And all the one-timers and Trey Gang. The Ye Nation? Yeah, okay.
All right.
What's that? No, 3 Ye Nation? Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
Shout out to Drake True Statement in the chat. See, he just left Flying Biscuit. That's Atlanta. That's
Where
Atlanta.
Where is Flying Biscuit anyway?
He got it over there. He's got 2 locations. But that's over there. I'm guessing he's over there at the one near downtown.
Okay.
Where all that traffic is, Dre. Is that where you just came from? Flying Biscuit over there downtown? Or nearby downtown?
What's up,
Lisa Shepard.
Lisa Shepard.
Thomas M. Scott.
What's up, Thomas?
And I got these PFF reports too as well, man. We going crazy with these PFF reports in a minute. Because they always give the Falcons the past couple of years a little bit of love. And they are talking a lot right now on the positive side of the Atlanta Falcons. But big shout out to Drake True Statement, Lisa Shepard, Thomas Scott from the Rise Up Tour in the chat too as well. Falcon fans, we have a lot to talk about when it comes over the Atlanta Falcons today. And of course, the Rise Up Tour going forward with these away games too. Drake True Statement said, y'all hit that like button one time for the
hit that like button and subscribe.
We're almost at 1,000. I said it the other night. I gave the big thank you shout out, but we are almost at 1,000. So if you're checking in from Facebook and it's your first time here, you can head over to YouTube and just hit subscribe, and you can head back over to Facebook if you want to. But we're all in this together. A lot of us has been here since day one, talking Falcons football. And once again, I do thank you all. But we are really close to 1,000 subscribers. So big shout out to everybody in the chat that's been supporting One Time for the Fan. You see, we ain't asking for no bread or nothing. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying, hey, send me a little cash here and there. Nah, man. Subscribe to the channel. Support the channel by coming in here and talking Falcons football with us. Right? That's what we do. It's one time for the one time. Rosalind Roz is up talking Falcons football with us too as well. Good morning, Rosalind. Sterling Woods, good morning to you too as well. LaMarcus Boyd, is the sun up over there, LaMarcus?
What?
Gee, shout out to LaMarcus. Yeah. One time for the fan. 95 North said on repeat, bro. 17 of 17.
Mm.
17 of 17. Happy Friday. Falcons Friday. Don't forget, Falcons fans talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday. Everybody in the chat here shouting at each other. You know, a lot of these Falcon fans, they do watch a lot of other content creators too as well. We do have some content creators in the chat. So big shout out to all the content creators out there. Keep doing your thing. Stevie Correga is up in the West Coast crew is here. I have to say it. I see a lot of people here in the chat. A lot of them is coming from the West Coast. And they up. They are up right now. 7 o'clock in the morning. They are up. Big shout out to you all here in the chat. Arizona's in the house. Big shout out to LaMarcus Boyd here in the chat. Q Lavender wants to know already, do you think we pull the trigger on Reddick? Let me tell you something.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope so. Word on the street is they are trying to put that together now, but if we could do that, oh man, that would be great. That would be, other than Kirk Cousins, that would be, I think, one of the most impactful moves that we've made in a while. To get an edge rusher with the caliber of Hassan Reddick, I think it immediately makes everybody else better. Because who are you going to double team now, right?
Too many problems to worry about. Too many problems to worry about. Terry's so excited he didn't hit the button.
Hey man, it makes every edge rusher we have even better. And I would love to see a move like this. And if you get him, you have to sign him to a multi-year deal. So I just think that would be great. I don't know, but let's get into it. So you made reference of PFF giving us some love. I know that Zach Robinson at one point did work for them. Do you think that is a byproduct of, maybe
you got some people over there still
right,
texting on the inside?
Right.
It's
or do you think it's just legit? Do you think it's legitimate, the love they're showing the Falcons right now? Like, what are your thoughts on that, Jay?
Well, here's the cool thing. And what I'm getting ready to show you in a minute is like Falcon fans can say, well, that's a fact. Yeah. So it's not really Zach Robinson texting the buddies. No, it's really PFF and these guys, not only just PFF, but other groups out there too as well that see what the Falcons are building. And they're responding on their platform saying, hey, this team's looking pretty good. There might be some more people using them in Madden this year. Might want to watch out for that. So it's just something to look at. Carlton Bunch, before we get to that too as well, Terry, Carlton Bunch is in the chat. LaMarcus Boyd, Ramel, Peck is also in the chat too as well. Shout out to everybody in here using the emojis too as well with the one time for the one time. Man, we do love it. We do thank you all for being here. Now let's get straight to it. When you're going over this Hassan Reddick move, you're going over a situation where you're bringing in a guy, if you get this guy, if you land him, that can quickly change the culture on the defense when you got a star pass rusher just like him, right?
Without a doubt.
You're pairing him with a couple guys that you're going to go draft to as well. If you can keep that first pick in the draft, I mean, that number 8 pick, that'd be great. But for me, go get him.
Absolutely go get him.
That's the move that we're all waiting for, because people in here are mentioning what's going on with the defense. They haven't made any moves on the defense. If that's the move you're getting ready to prepare for, then if that's your splash, I'm all for it. What they've done on the outside with bringing in Kirk Cousins and, of course, the offensive coordinator, the new head coach, all these moves that's being made right now, people from PFF see it. People from, like I said, outside groups, other platforms, other content creators, everybody sees what the Falcons are doing. And I even listened to a couple of podcasts the other night from the Panthers and the Bucks organization, from some of their people, and they were saying the Falcons are pretty good, right? So you have to look at it to say, all right, Falcon fans, let's look at what PFF is looking at here, right? So I'm going to bring up the share screen for everybody in the chat. Big shout out to everybody in the chat too as well. But look at this that they posted the other day, right? The perfect scheme fits in Atlanta. And I'm going to go ahead and just move this to the side. All right, let me knock this down on the side of the screen here. Take down the banner, right? You can see that, Terry?
I can see it.
Perfect scheme fits in free agency, right? Kirk Cousins to Atlanta. And you're looking at there's a lot of names that we can put on this list. But PFF is posting what they see was a good fit. Kirk Cousins was one of them to Atlanta. Remember we talked about the quarterback situation. How many
Right.
teams needed quarterbacks? How many
Right.
teams were going to get their quarterbacks, and how many players were available? So when we added Kirk Cousins to that list, it's good to see that the Falcons made a move. And Terry, we talked about it. Bodie talked about it. Chase talked about it. Everybody talked about it. You kind of it was different scenarios too as well. So we're just not gonna put it out. We're just not gonna put it out there that we were just 100% on this is the move for Kirk Cousins. We put out 100 different scenarios. But one of the scenarios that we talked about was you probably didn't want to go into the draft
without a quarterback. Right.
Because you didn't know. It's like I'm reading from a script. It's like you didn't know if you can land 1, 2, or 3 via trade.
Well, I would liken it to purchasing a house and your credit score dropping 200 points. I mean, you have no leverage. You have no leverage. You have nothing, right? It's like if you acquire a quarterback, especially one of the caliber of Kirk Cousins, I'm sorry. It's almost like it's almost like your credit score going up 200 points, right? It's the difference in you determining the terms and the closing and the money's due back to you and the bank doing it because now you have no leverage, right? You're not that sexy pick for this new house because your credit worthiness has taken a hit. So I just think Kirk Cousins was a great move. I think Darnell Mooney was a great move. I think Warner was a very good move because you needed a blocking tight end, and it probably gives you flexibility in regards to how you want to use Kyle. Although, from what I'm hearing is that he will probably be more in line in regards to the routes and how they're going to play him. That remains to be seen. It would make sense, though, because typically from what we've seen of the Rams, they like a 3 wide receiver set. So that'd be interesting. But more so to your point, it looks like from what Bleacher Report is saying, they fit, or these pieces fit what we want to do, right?
And the cool thing, Terry, you're a Falcon fan. You kind of saw the situation with the quarterback, right?
Right.
The Falcons addressed the quarterback, right?
They did.
You saw the situation in the wide receiver room outside of Drake London and Kyle Pitts from last year, even when how Kyle Pitts wasn't totally 100% how some fans would say. I understand. They've upgraded the wide receiver room, right?
Yes.
And then if you want to add Kyle Pitts more into the wide receiver role with the targets situation in the offseason when him and Kurt was talking about the jersey and everything, if Kurt is going to be targeting Kyle a lot more, bringing in Charlie Warner makes sense. Because now you have a physical blocking tight end who's going to be helping out Kyle Pitts in a major way where it's like, hey, bro, don't worry. I got this. You go over there and do you.
Yeah.
Versus last year, it was like, or the year before that, it was like, man, if we can just get the ball to the tight end. Don't have to worry about that going forward because I think Zach Robinson wants to run a scheme where it's like, we're going to get the ball to Kyle. We're going to get the ball to Drake. We're going to get the ball to Bijan. We're going to get the ball up the field because we have Kirk Cousins. His numbers and stats have already proven that over 4,000 yards, a couple people's finna eat. He ain't throwing it to himself.
Right.
He ain't throwing it to the coach either. Cameron says here in the Twitter chat for PFF, looks like Dalton is quite the Falcons fan, pulling these 3 at the top of his list. Figueroa's here in the chat for the PFF said Charlie Warner's a better scheme fit than Wilkins, returning with his old DC and former 2 teammates on the Raiders. If you're looking at Charlie Warner, he has connections here in Atlanta too as well with some of the members of the coaching staff. Big shout out to Charlie Warner.
Shout out.
Going to another message, another piece that PFF also posted as well. most improved units after first week of NFL free agency.
Yes.
Falcons offense, Falcons receiving. We've upgraded tremendously in multiple areas.
Right.
One is the receiving room, and then two is the entire offense. When you add Kirk Cousins to the mix, you just added a guy who has shown. Matter of fact, go ahead and get this out here. Hold on now. Kirk Cousins, who has shown right here that he's going to get the ball at the field. That we're going to be in position to score multiple times.
I tell you who is probably going to benefit, or a lot of this is probably going to benefit Kyle, because you now have guys that can stretch the field. So that 10, 15, 20-yard area, I would imagine if you're doing more traditional tight end routes, Kyle is going to eat in that area because of your Darnell Moody's, because of your Rondale Moores. You can use them to stretch the field. And you can't double everyone, right? So I think as a result of what we acquired on the receiver side, two guys that I can immediately see being impacted would be Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
I think their catches and touches go up at least 20%. Just my, and not that you didn't use them last year, but there's a difference between using them and putting them in a position to succeed, where there's nobody around them because you've got two receivers 30 yards down the field. So now you can check it down to Bijan. You can throw a 10-yard out to Kyle, and it turns into 20 because there's literally no one around him, right? So, just my thoughts. But I would agree with that.
And yeah, and I agree with you on that. And big shout out to the great Gat in the PFF chat. He asked the question last week. He said, why are the Falcons offense and Falcons receiving separate? Would receiving not fall into the offense? Well, you can upgrade your receiving room and still be back with Heineke or Ritter last year.
There you go.
And then it wouldn't be an upgrade to the offense.
It would be correct.
You've upgraded the receiving room.
Correct.
So I understand why, the great Gatino, I think that's his name, had asked this question. But here on the podcast now, I can answer that. Kirk Cousins now upgrades your entire offense.
Absolutely.
Makes it 15, 20, 30 times better.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
Now you added him to the mix. Hell, you could even they could have brought in Baker Mayfield, and it would have been Falcons offense right here. Because look what Baker Mayfield did last year.
Right.
It's a win now league, people.
Yeah.
What have you done for me lately? Apparently, what Baker did for the Bucs was good enough to bring him back on a mega contract. Where Baker was in a point in his career where it was like, nobody wants me. Maybe I am the next Johnny Manziel who's just continuing playing in the NFL.
Right.
But then the Bucs said, no, you've really helped this team and this fan base. There's Buck fans betting that they're going to win it with Baker.
Yeah.
Just like we are sitting here saying we're going to win it with Kurt. Yeah, and just like the Saints fans saying they're going to win it with Derek. Now, Carolina fans already know they ain't winning shit with Bryce. So we can go ahead and throw that at the door. But they still continue to have faith. And that, as a fan, I respect.
Yeah, well, they need to put some weapons around Bryce. They definitely needed to upgrade their offensive line, and they needed to give him some tools. I am really astounded with the weapons that Kirk Cousins has. And I'd liken it to this, right? You got a Bijan. You got a Tyler, who, lest we not forget, in a year where they knew we were running the ball, gain 1,000 yards. That's nothing small to look at. You have Kyle, you have Drake, but you added speed on the other side. So one hand helps the other, right? Because of your Ray McClouds, because of your Rondale Moores, because of your Darnell Moody's, these guys are going to be so more. It enhances your weapons because you can't double everybody, right? So if you're gonna stick a linebacker or two on Bijan, if you're gonna double cover Kyle, then one of them is going to be wide open. It gives us true balance on offense because now we should be able to run it and or throw it, and you're not going to know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think most people realize the weapons that we already had versus what we added, right? What we added is akin to putting a nitrous oxide on your already very sexy 12 horsepower engine, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got this 12
Mm-hmm.
horsepower engine, this 8 horsepower engine. You can go from 0 to 60 in so many seconds. And now you've added this nitrous oxide kit that will probably increase your speed by 30 to 40%. That's essentially what the Falcons have done. So, yeah, I definitely think from an offensive perspective and a receiving perspective, we've gotten a lot better. And probably the running game will benefit from this now because
Yes.
you can't just, you know what I mean? You got to pick and choose your spots, right?
Yes.
You can't just stack 9 in the box and think we won't go over top. Newsflash, we will.
You're
So,
one game, one play, one quarter, one sack away from making the playoffs last year with
mhm,
a quarterback who was benched twice, another quarterback who
mhm,
was also benched and he also got injured. And then you're
mhm,
looking at a situation where you bring in the guy who's 4,000 plus passing yards. You've upgraded the wide receiver room, and you're still going to have teams kind of lock in on Bijan in the backfield, trying to
mhm.
lock in on Tyler in the backfield. Kyle Pitts, you have to watch on the field. I'm just getting fans prepared for the fall. A healthy Falcons team is going to be a dangerous Falcon team week in and
Without
week
a
out.
doubt.
No
Without a
matter
doubt.
who we play, I don't care who's on the
Mhm.
schedule.
Yeah.
It's going to be a week in and week out thing where you're looking at a team where Kirk Cousins is going to come off, like I said, week one. You're looking at a guy who can probably throw up 300-400 yards week one.
Mhm.
Don't put us against the Panthers week one. It's going to be a slap fest. I want to see a good matchup week one. Matter of fact, get the hard games out the way early. Get the hard game. Put us against the Chiefs week one.
Wow.
Get the hard games out the way early. I mean,
Wow.
I'm
I
just
hear
throwing it
that.
out there. The NFL is going to make in less than 2 months. We're going to find out who is who. So don't just sit here and say, "Hey, Jack, hold on. We don't want the Chiefs first." The NFL is getting ready to make that decision.
That's true.
So I just want to put that out there. I'm just talking as a fan right now, right? And fans
Yeah.
really they do like to talk. Drake, your statements in the chat. He said, "All is well, my guy. Getting to this money so I can be at these games all season long, bro. How you living? Hey, look, man, Falcon
Get your
fans,
bag, bro.
get
Get
your
your
bag,
bag.
get your
Get
money. Everybody in
your
the
bag.
chat, this is the off season. This is the time for you to get the money so you can go and enjoy everything you want to do in life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to go to a Falcons game too as well on the side, you can do that. But when the Falcons season starts, it's kind of difficult for some fans to do certain things because the Falcons do take up some people's time. I have to mention they do take up some people's time because they're an interesting and amazing team, the organization, everything they do from the community events to just on the field and off the field. It's a big shout out to the Atlanta Falcons. LaMarcus Boyd's in the chat with the oh yeah. He's lit. Nathan Floyd said, I understand all the talk about an edge guy in the first round, but I have a feeling it's going to be corner. I talked to Berto this morning about best player available.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing how the Falcons haven't made any moves to lock in their starters or what they need right now. I mean, it can happen. We can get news right now as we're talking.
We could.
That's why I love this Friday morning podcast because we can technically get news as we're talking.
Right. You're in the thick of it.
We really are because the Sunday nights at 8 and then the Wednesday at 8 is kind of like, the Falcons are home watching the podcast. No, I'm just kidding. But if you're looking at the corner situation, best player available, you need a guy to go beside AJ Terrell.
You do.
And
you need him for cheap.
And you need him for cheap.
Because you got to give AJ the bag here coming up.
If the best player available is a rookie corner, if it's trading back to get him, if it's getting him at 8, which some would say it's a reach to take a corner at 8 when you're loaded up with different type of talent in the top 10. Trade back and get the corner, pick up more picks. Which, if you trade for Hassan Reddick, you got your pass rusher. So then you're going to be looking at maybe how can I pick back up some more picks, some more, some more value here.
replenish my draft picks. I think the move for a corner becomes more digestible if you go and get Reddick, right?
Yeah,
Now, I'm not gonna lie. I would still look if you go and get Reddick and you go and get Dallas Turner. I mean, you've kind of set your defensive line up. And to your
that
point,
is major.
yeah, I don't know that the corner talent is what the wide receiver talent is in this draft, but I don't think it's that far behind. So you could potentially still get someone in the second round, or if you are able to trade with Minnesota and get two of their first round picks, you maybe get Dallas Turner or an edge rusher at 11 and then get a corner at 23. So,
Cool
but
thing about it is they're going to make the right decision, Terry.
yes,
And
yeah.
the best player available that we've seen, I think fans here like London. I think fans here like Pitts and Bijan. Now it's time to bring in a guy that fans can also enjoy on the field, be a fan favorite to the fan base, but get the job done. Pitts is excited about this season. Why do you think he's excited? Because I think he knows his numbers could possibly be going up in a matter of months.
Oh yeah.
Crazy numbers to where he can score 5, 6, 7 times a season, well over 1,000, and there's still 2 games left to play.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have guys like Drake London, who has been in a situation where young guy going into a wide receiver room where he's not Julio, but he's the new star receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He's your number one. He's your guy that you went heavy in the draft for back then when fans were like, Drake London, why would we go Drake London? Well, now we get a chance to see why. And if Kirk can get Drake the ball the same way he did with Adam Thielen and Stefon Diggs, well, that's 2 guys I guess named that Kirk is going to be working with.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're really eating with Pitts in London. Oh, guess what? We got this guy named Bijan Robinson. Phenomenal talent, which I'm sure in the backfield or even lined up, he's going to be ready to go.
I think I think they all are going to appreciate Kirk Cousins.
Oh yeah,
because I think he makes all of them better. I do. I think the fact that you have a lethal processor of information means you can blitz him if you want to, but the weapons we got. So yeah, I think Bijan is going to get even more deadly. I think Kyle is going to get even more deadly, not only because of Kirk Cousins, but because of the guys that you have to stretch the field, and because of the guy that you have putting together route trees and route locations and route assignments and route combination, right? And again, no disrespect to the previous regime, but I can think of at least 10 times last year where the ball was thrown and you had 2 guys in the same location.
yeah.
I can think of at least 10 examples of that. And I don't know that could be on poor execution as far as the routes are concerned, but more than likely that is poor design, right? And I just don't think you're going to see that with this present regime.
Now,
Lisa's saying, should we be concerned that Calais Campbell hasn't signed with us for
for this year,
24 yet?
I'm
Well, he
not.
hasn't signed with anybody else, so
Yeah,
maybe you can look at it that way. Maybe that's a positive. And to Lisa's point, can you imagine if we get Hassan Reddick and bring back Calais Campbell?
can you imagine you get Hassan Reddick, bring back Calais Campbell, and then go get Dallas Turner,
Oh man.
or go get the kid from UCLA?
Oh man.
Like,
Oh man.
I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat who has their draft boards ready. Nathan Floyd, Ramel, Q Lavender, Jabri, Lisa, everybody, Christy Lewis, everybody who's watching their draft board. Let's do this. Remember last year we were so focused on one player. Remember that Jalen Carter? Remember that Jalen Carter guy?
Mm-hmm.
Now, not saying everybody, but for most of the people here on the podcast, a lot of people in the chat said it's Carter, it's Carter, it's Carter, it's Carter, it's Carter, it's Carter. Even after the situation he had at Georgia, Carter. Bodie woke up that morning, April 1st, 2nd, I think it was, chose violence. Everything was Bijan. He was Bijan'd out.
Mm-hmm.
And big shout out to Auntie Pam too as well. First of all, you got to mention Auntie Pam. Auntie Pam was in our chat mentioning Bijan to a point where like people was like, let me Google this Bijan. Somebody must be on the word
Good
over
morning,
here.
Auntie Pam.
Big shout out to Auntie Pam too as well. So for Falcon fans this year, make a board, get a list of about 10 players.
Right.
Do your research on about 10 players in the first round that the Falcons could select.
Right.
Just like I do with quarterback and the head coach. And when the Falcons make a selection from one of those players from your list, you can say, oh, I know who this guy is.
Yeah.
Versus, why do we get that guy?
Yeah.
Make a list. Don't be so focused on, no, it's Dallas Turner. I'm telling you, I'm betting the house that is Dallas Turner. Right. And then when they go corner, you're saying, who did I make that bet with? I was just joking with
you. So Jack, let's talk about the variables that go into drafting someone. Because it's not just the talent on the field, right? Sometimes you have, maybe a staff that interviews a prospect, and then maybe they don't like what they hear, or maybe they're thinking to themselves, this guy doesn't fit what we're trying to do, right? Or maybe they're thinking to themselves, you know what, this guy, if you draft him and the first time you pay him, I don't know, or the maturity of this guy, can he handle going from college to professional football and still hold it all together? There's not going to be anybody waking this guy up, right? There's not going to be anybody mentoring this guy. He's going to have to do it on its own. So, there are variables that go into selecting someone, and we're not going to be privy to those conversations. Jack, tell me your thoughts on that.
Vic and Tack.
Yeah.
Or Tack and Vic.
Yeah.
The assessment, what they got from their evaluation of these two guys coming out of college was that they're ready for the NFL.
Yeah.
These are future star talent. 10 years from now, we're going to be talking about them.
Yeah.
That's what their evaluation was at that time. Remember we talked about time? Remember we talked about it earlier? Sometimes it's just your time.
Your timing. Yeah.
At that time, they thought Vic and Tack were future stars here in Atlanta, which I will say that year that Vic had when he went crazy, that was impressive. But to see what happened after it was like, who could have wrote that? Who could have put that in the script?
Right. And to your point, there was no. I kind of Vic is an enigmatic figure. Vic is, if you will allow me to say this, from a raw talent perspective, I think Vic is the best quarterback we've ever seen. I know Vic could throw the ball 6 yards at the flick of a wrist, right?
Hold on. I'm Vic Beasley.
Oh, Vic Beasley. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Not number 7, not my boy.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Okay, Vic Beasley.
I'm talking about Vic Beasley.
Okay, now I understand that.
And Tack McKinley.
I understand.
I should have said the last name too as well.
Yeah.
When I said Vic, people probably looking like quarterback Vic. No.
Well,
Vic Beasley.
Right.
The evaluation with those guys was they were supposed to be future generational talent here, developed well to sit here 8, 9, 10 years in Atlanta and be where that was first round picks, man.
Right.
Which, and from their draft class, they still got players playing in the league from their draft class.
Right. And they clearly weren't. And that's again, but to your point, and thank you for clarifying that, Jack. Because
that's how you said. I think you said throw the ball, and I said, well, Vic ain't throw no goddamn ball. I'm about to say Beasley ain't throw no goddamn. What Beasley throw?
Look, right there. That's how miscommunications happens. But we work it out on one time for the fans. So there you go.
Yeah.
But to your point, this guy can have all of the talent, all of the measurables, right? He can run so fast, jump so high. Good morning, Cheryl. But to the extent that you don't have it up there, right? Can we develop this guy? Is this guy coachable? Right? Is this guy coachable? Does he have the want to? because you might be great in college, but if you don't have the want to get better in the NFL, you're just not. You're just not.
You know what, Terry? Look at other teams. Look at the Chiefs.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
a time when the Chiefs were bad.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when there was no Pat Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the Bills. Not to say that they're winning and they're just this big team, but look where they've come from to where they are now.
Oh yeah. Well, they're in the conversation.
They're in the
They are
conversation.
perennially
A
right.
lot
They
of
are.
that, the draft pieces, the free agent pieces, the
Yeah.
circumstances that happened in 2004 is totally different in 2023.
Absolutely.
So what we saw from the draft evaluations from the old regime is totally different than what Terry has in the building now. So some of those variables probably changed to where Terry now is asking the right questions that need to be asked to say, you know, this Troy Anderson, he's got something. This Clark Phillips has something. This Drake London, this Kyle Pitts has something. And we're getting ready to see that in a matter of weeks where Terry's going to go look at a guy and say, no, this is it. This is it. This is what the Falcons want.
Right.
This is what the Falcons want. We saw the last couple picks before with Drake, Kyle, and Bijan, where it's like, all right, you guys gotta play up to it now. We got to see it first, man. And then they play and they're like, well, Drake is nice, Kyle's nice, and Bijan's nice. Now you're getting ready to get the guy that Falcon fans know is nice. We just wanted him.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, that was kind of tough. I remember when Falcon fans went to the Benz that year and they announced Chris Lindstrom for the draft pick, and fans said,
"What? Yeah,
Chris Lindstrom."
They drafted Lindstrom and McGarry that year, right?
I believe so. Yeah, they traded back up for McGarry. We drove down from Savannah for Chris Lindstrom.
Yeah.
Look at Chris Lindstrom now.
Well, and you could argue, look at McGarry. Look, you've drafted
that
starters.
man. You paid him good well last year,
right?
You paid him.
And they're starting. And again, say what you want about McGarry, but on the run side, definitely a plus, right?
He's the starter, and if you can find better in the league, you got the money to go get it. You got the trade value to go trade him. But apparently, he's still here.
Yeah.
So the Falcons see something with him, and if whatever they see mistake-wise, they're going to try to fix it this year with a 36-year-old quarterback.
So I got a question for you, Chad. When it comes to success with the draft pick, right? Mm-hmm. We know that some of the onus is on the pick, pick himself in regards to certain immeasurables, your capacity to learn, your willingness to listen, your attitude, your development skills, your ability to grasp certain concepts. But what about the organization? What is as a team, what would you say is key for the Falcons to maximize and get the most out of these draft picks? Like what organizationally, what are some things we need to focus on to get the maximum out of the talent we're about to draft? What would you say?
You see, Terry, that's why you're here on One Time for the Fan. That's a great question. And of course, with your podcast coming up, talking Braves and Falcons, you're going to be speaking to an audience that's like, wow, this guy's pretty good at what he's saying.
I don't know about that, but thank you.
I mean, you do a good job, Terry. We talk for hours when we talk about these Falcons too as well. But to answer the question, if you're looking at that, for the Falcons, they definitely want, the off the field issues is big for them.
Yes.
About who they are and how that matters to the organization.
Yes.
I think that's one of the reasons why that Jalen Carter move wasn't made last year. Is because of what happened right after that situation where he's miles away from the University of Georgia, and that situation where it could hurt him at home, and even for the Justin Fields situation, some would say, no, Atlanta wouldn't be the right fit for him. This kid is a young kid. He's gonna get caught up in the mix of Atlanta versus playing football. Some can say that, but going to the draft, going to these players, the off the field issues, their character, their personality, what they did in college. I think they love those multi-sport athletes too as well. Guys who can play not only basketball but run track. Guys who can play basketball and play a little football here too as well. but they also like a guy who's a family guy too as well. Look at the people who they brought in to Atlanta draft class wise, and even look at Kurt too as well. Like Kurt gives you the Matt Ryan feeling. They love the homely type of vibe. When they bring players in, they want players to feel like you're playing not only for Atlanta, but this is your home, right? This is your. It's not just a team, right? We're bringing you home. Like, I want you to feel one with Atlanta, one with the community, one with Flowery Branch, one with the organization and the fan base, which for me as a fan growing up now, I'm seeing more of that versus when I was younger. It was just get out there and play football. You know what I'm saying? Now I can see it on a business and organization level, and also being around some of them too as well, where it's like they want to win not only on the field, but off the field with these players. I mentioned it about don't step on the logo in the locker room. It's way bigger than that. But for these players' mental side, and that's why I think the Calvin Ridley thing hurt them, because it's like, bro, you just gambled on a game, bro.
Right.
That's not me. That's the organization. Like, bro.
Right.
We were getting ready to make you everything. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Julio was leaving. Like, we're gonna build around you. It's probably gonna be you and Kurt.
Let's focus on that for a
just
second,
what they can do as a player off the field too as well versus on the field. We know we can do as a player. That's why we drafted you. Look at the tape.
You just said something. And I'd like to focus that. And again, even in your conversation, I got to give you your flowers. You're giving me ideas. So as long as Julio was here, Calvin was fine. Mm-hmm. You remember that? Mm-hmm. Because Julio was Unc.
Big brother.
Julio was big brother, right?
Yeah.
When Julio left, who was number one?
Return to Calvin.
Calvin, right? And Calvin couldn't handle it. So again, a lot of times when you draft a guy, where do you see him in 3, 4, 5 years? Is this going to be a receiver number 2 that's going to become receiver number 1? Because that was Julio's path, right? When we drafted Julio, it was Mr. Rowdy Roddy White. It was Mr. Rowdy Roddy White's locker room when we drafted Julio, right?
At that time, it was getting ready.
Right. And then Julio became the man. And to his credit, he was able to carry that mantle. But again, a lot of these variables come into play when you're drafting a guy. Something else that comes to mind is the scheme that you're going to run, right? And the development piece of your organization. Because let's say that you got a great scheme, but your development skills organizationally are not where they need to be. You might not maximize this player, or vice versa. Maybe this guy is great, but scheme-wise, he doesn't fit what you do, right? When you look at Jalen Hurts, they have crafted that offense for what he does well. When you look at Brock Purdy, I don't see Brock Purdy going to the Giants and having the same success that he has with Kyle Shanahan. So, right.
You mentioned scheme.
Yes.
And that's why fans saw a couple years ago, it was like, damn, how many sacks the Falcons got? Damn, 3 players in the league got more sacks than the Falcons. Wait, how many?
Wow.
And then you saw last year with Nielsen.
Yep.
Because you saw what he did with the Saints.
Yep.
He came over here, didn't have the shot to Grady Jarrett and everybody else on the team, but he didn't have the big star tier 1 pass rusher that's going to get 50 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
He brought the team together to go get over 40 as a team.
42 sacks.
Because of the coaching, because of the scheme, because of what players believed in, because of his technique, because of how he trains these guys and how he developed these guys. In 1 year, he got them over 20 plus additional sacks.
Yeah.
That's why fans were like, nah, you should have kept him. Now it's Jimmy Lake's job to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So for Falcon fans in the chat, these players that they draft, the on the field, off the field, who they are is very big to the organization. Falcons do a very good job of making sure they don't draft, some star kid with a very bad record off the field. And because he can play football, we'll bring him in and we'll work on him. No.
The Ryan Leafs of the world.
Falcons are not doing that.
From the Ryan Leafs.
They don't care if this guy scored 100 touchdowns and he's the fastest kid in college. and they're sitting at that pick. If he had bad off the field issues and he is
Yeah.
a problem in the locker room, that
Yeah.
is not Arthur Blank's. That's
Agreed.
not going to happen.
Agreed.
And you can find BPA different ways, but I got to give it to Terry for what they've been doing. The cap space was one thing. Seeing Matt, Julio, everybody who we once loved. When this is football too, as well, it's a business. So we already know age and contract. It happens, right? We're not telling you something new here, right? It happens that one day Kyle may go to a different team, or he's going to get to an age where he doesn't want to play football, and there's going to be another tight end, and then fans will start getting to talk and say, who's the new tight end? Who's the new start? It just happens. It's just the NFL. But looking at what Terry has done with this team and how he's got us out of that cap hell too as well and put us in this situation, and now we sit back on this Falcons Friday, a couple of weeks before free agency, and we look at the draft. I'm sorry, it's a couple of weeks before draft, and we look at the free agency, and we say that we made some moves on offense that I think fans can enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
We look at that defense, and you say, we haven't done much.
Yeah.
What are they planning? What are they getting ready to do? Because you see it like I see it, Terry.
I think if it's me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to focus on two things.
Mm-hmm.
One, the depth of the defensive line. Because our defense for about the first 13 games was great. And it was great because we had Grady and Onyemata, but they are older. They are older. So for me, you have to get some depth pieces on that defensive line, which is why we signed Kentavious Street. But you also got to draft some young guys, right? Maybe you don't play Grady 4 downs. Maybe you play him 2 downs and you rotate in and out that defensive line. But to me, our defense suffered specifically when Grady and when Onyemata went out.
It was tough trying to fill
when
pieces with Huggins and Laquel London and some of these guys too as well. Though they did a good job to put up what they did, but it was a tough situation.
It was, and again, I think they did okay. Again, I think that our defensive line right now is adequate. It's adequate, but if you're talking about going on a run and doing what you need to do, you need depth.
Yeah,
because
especially for late in the season. Yeah,
injuries happen, right? Yeah. You need depth. So if you can, especially, if you can get Hassan Reddick, that changes everything. Because who are you going to double team? You get a Hassan Reddick and you draft a Dallas Turner, and you go get Mr. Calais Campbell, who is a massive human being, by the way. Just massive.
You look at what Calais said. Calais was supposed to play up to 60%. By the Jets game, he was playing damn near every snap.
Right, and that was because of lack of depth, right? So I think for me, what the focus should be, and again, hey, take it for what it's worth, right? I think you focus on replenishing that defensive line and the cornerbacks. Our linebackers are pretty good. You might need a linebacker or 2, and you need a safety. Now, I don't know if you want to sign a safety, but that, for me, I'm going to focus at least 5 to 6 pieces on defense for the draft. What those pieces are, don't know, right? You could flip corner, you could flip defensive line, whatever you want, but that's where I would see. We have 8 draft picks, maybe 7 if we trade for Hassan Reddick. I'm okay with that too. But I think of the 8, at least 5 to 6 need to be defensive pieces. That's the way I see it. Jack, what are your thoughts?
So I have a lot when it goes to, the Falcons and, what needs to be done with the draft. But first, before we get to that, as we get ready to wrap up this podcast here, let's look at the free agency, right? We did a great job getting to where we are right now. We're doing good. The draft is going to come up, Terry. We're going to be lit. We're going to have our draft show. We're going to talk about all these big names the Falcons are going to bring in that's going to make this team better. But Kenneth here is in the chat mentioning the Falcons are broke and do not have money to cover draftees right now. So you can cancel anyone else. On the podcast the other night, and big shout out to John Michaels too as well, who did
Shout
our
out to
Wednesday
John.
podcast.
Thank you, John.
John Michaels from 680 The Fan, who I think he just beat Steak Shapiro in the podcast journalist, radio announcer bracket that they're doing right now. It's pretty cool. Like all the journalists and everybody, they all know each other. They're all cool. So they set up like a tournament bracket where it was like Carl Dukes versus like Dylan Matthews of 92. And then it's like all these other analysts and journalists against each other. Super cool. But I think John advanced past round 1 and past round 2. I think he's getting ready to head down to the to the Final Four real soon. So big shout out to John. I think he got his win this morning, but I go back and check. Kenneth, you talking about the Falcons are broke. They are broke at the moment, but I did mention the other day. Jake Matthews, Chris Lindstrom, and Jesse Bates are 3 names you can look at to easily clear up cap space. John Michaels mentioned it the other day on the podcast on Wednesday that you can restructure a couple more people and end up not in 10 to 15 million, end up around with 40 plus million.
Right.
Now, really soon.
Yeah.
They can do this and end up back to where they started at.
Yeah.
And I think that could possibly be a move where if it's Hassan, if it's anybody you want to trade for, there it is. If it's your draft class, there it is, Terry. And if it's your couple 1-year deals, your Bud Dupree, your Calais Campbell, there it is. Emmanuel Johnson's in the chat. We need to restructure and add cap space.
Yeah.
Well, Emmanuel, we're the same thing you saying, my brother, we are saying. And the same thing that we said, John Michaels just said. And if we're saying this, I know the brilliant minds behind the Falcons organization is doing the same exact thing right now. Hey, Jake, what you doing right now? All right, that's great. Hey, could you come by the office tomorrow around 10:30? Perfect. Hey, no, don't bring your playbook. You're good. We just want to talk about something. Yeah, that 15 million. Yeah, just a couple, man. Hey, look, I know you're excited about Kirk and everything, but we gotta go get a couple guys, Jake. We gotta go get a couple guys to be some game wreckers, right? We need to go get a couple pieces. Hey, what do you feel about this guy? You want him? All right, cool. Look, I need to get about 11 million from you, man. That's cool. All right, cool. Bet. Hey, Jesse. Yo, Jesse, what's up, man? Hey, it's your boy Raheem. Yo, you get a little bit of money from your dog. Or Terry, however wants to call whoever wants to call.
Yeah.
But you're gonna get it done. They're not gonna sit there with $2 million right now, Terry, and say, We're done. That's it. Free agency's done. Draft is ready. No.
So Jack, there is, and please, for our audience, explain the difference between restructuring and maybe asking someone to take a pay cut. So restructuring would be, hey, that 11 million we owe you this year, we're going to convert 9 of that into a signing bonus. So you're still going to get your money.
Yes, just down the line.
How we deliver it is going to be different.
John Michaels explained that perfectly. Yes.
Correct. So it is possible because, hey, man, if you owe me 11 million, I don't know that I'm willing to just say, yeah, you can pay me 1 million this year. But what I am willing to do is if you want to push it back a little or restructure it into a signing bonus, same difference, I'm fine with it. So that's some options. And I think those are some options we're going to have to revisit, to Kenneth's point, if we want to make any more moves. And I do think that there's smoke and there's fire to this whole Hassan Reddick thing. I think, you know what I mean? I definitely do.
T-Will.
So, yes,
T-Will,
sir.
before we get up out of here, let's play GM real quick.
Okay.
All right. So you want to be Terry or I'll be Terry? Who wants to be? Well, your name is Terry and you kind of look like Terry. So do you want to be Terry?
I'll be Terry. Sure.
Okay, you'll be Terry. All right, cool. So I'm Raheem, but I'm playing like 5 or 6 people. I'm like Raheem. Rich McKay's in there. I'm Rich. Everybody. I'm everybody else that's not Terry. Right? Check it out.
Right.
Hey, yo, Terry, what's up, man, dog? What's up, man? You cooling, dog? Cooling, that's what's up. Hey, man, this team is looking great, man. We're doing a good job right now, brother. But, we do got draft coming up and a couple more moves to make on free agency. We ain't really attacked the defense, but we got about 2-3 million left. Probably a couple 1-year deals. Terry, what are you thinking right now? I mean, how we can't sign nobody really with this 3 million. What's on your mind?
Well, there are some options that we can have or that we can do to create cap space. And we are obviously in conversations with the parties that would be included with that now. So there are options that we can take to create cap space, and that's what we're thinking about doing. And in doing that, it will make room for the subsequent moves that we have to make down the line, right?
Oh,
So whether that's restructuring, whether that's cuts, whether that's salary reduction, we are reviewing all options and we will make the best decision for our organization as we see fit. But
so
don't worry about that. When we necessarily need the funds and the resources to go out and get who we think is going to help this team, they will be there.
so you're telling me right now on Friday, March 22nd, with the $3 million that we have, we're gonna have more money eventually. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes,
Oh,
we will have more. Obviously, we'd have to have
because
more money.
we can't. Because we can't sign the draft class right now, Terry. We can't sign the draft class. We got
Agreed.
to do something to make
Agreed.
more money, don't we?
Absolutely.
We
Absolutely.
can't sell
100%.
tickets to the game right now, Terry. There's no way possible. There's no schedule.
Well, we definitely want to sell tickets to the game. So we're going to do everything we need to do to create that cap space.
Falcon fans, y'all do it every day. Y'all play GM every day, and that's cool because everybody is a fan. We all want to win, but I guarantee you, the cap space situation of how much money we have right now is a situation that when Terry them is looking at their notes, I guarantee you cap space is not at the bottom of it.
Yep.
I guarantee you restructuring is not at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
These are things that need to be done quickly and soon because of the fact of what Terry just said. If there is a player or anybody that we want to bring in here, we can do that. And we will go do that if we want to do it. Now, when it gets to that time being, when it happens, we'll be ready for it. But right now, I think it does take some days to know that you're not going to call somebody in an hour and say, hey, what's up? Hey, we need 15 million. All right, bet. Cool. Appreciate it. These are agents. These are players.
Right. Correct.
So there's ways you have to work it out. You got to get your computer guys in the building. You got to get your accountants in the building. You got to get your people in the building and say, okay, how can we pay these guys and do this, and this, and this? And then they present the offer, and then the guy is fishing or he's out of the office. He can get back to it till 9:00 in the morning. He gets back, he looks at it. All right, cool. We'll do this, and this.
Right.
All right, bet. Agreement. Cool. We'll announce it over the weekend. Remember the Taylor Heineke situation last week? We kept talking about who's the quarterback 2, who's going to back up, and they got rid of Ritter, and over the weekend they gave him the roster bonus signing.
Yep.
We came back on Monday on the pop-up show like, okay, I guess he's the QB2 now. But the show before that was, what are we doing with Heineke?
Right.
So I'm telling you now, Falcon fans, as we get ready to wrap up the show, cap space and restructuring and all this stuff is on the table for the Falcons. If a fan knows that we can't sign the draft class, don't you think Terry knows?
Absolutely.
If a fan knows we can't pay Hassan Reddick, don't you think Terry knows?
I'd go a step further and say Terry anticipated it when he made these moves.
I think Terry would know, okay, we signed Kurt, we do Mooney, we do this. Yeah, we should be around 5.
Right.
So these are, man, hold on, man. This is a $1 billion business, man.
Correct.
This is a $1 billion business. Somebody might be slipping off their game, but they ain't slipping that bad, bro.
You know how embarrassing it would be if you did this and
you
did
not know your cap space and did not know how to restructure and did not know how to get money when you need money.
Yeah. So
I say right now, whereas the Falcons got their own money. Remember that line I said? The Falcons they got their own money. I ain't gonna say it right now because we got like $3 million. But in a couple of days, I'm gonna say it again. We're gonna get back some money.
Absolutely.
Make some moves.
And it's to your point, Jack. It's not just the situations that you have to work out with the agents. It's knowing the players, right?
Yes.
There's some guys, maybe you have this conversation in-house.
Yes.
Maybe you bring them in and look them in the eye and say, hey, and maybe you kind of, look, I've been in management before in various jobs. There's some folks you gotta coddle them, right? You gotta give them some love. You gotta bring them in the office and put your arm around them and say, hey, we really need you to do this. There are other guys that are like, tell me where to go. Where do I sign? You don't have to do that. You can call them on the phone. Hey, we didn't. So all of these strategies play into it. And maybe that's why it hasn't been done yet. But rest assured, it will be done. It will be done.
Big shout out to Larry from the Dixon Way in the chat too as well. He was a special guest on our podcast recently. He asked a question: why didn't we cut Taylor Heineke before he got the roster bonus in March 17th? He could have saved the $6.95 million. For me as a fan, what I'm guessing, they feel comfortable with having a quarterback with more league experience than what they've had with Desmond Ridder.
Yes.
And that's why they decided to keep Taylor, pay him the money, and now you have two pocket passing quarterbacks. A fan pointed this out to me and said that Taylor – matter of fact, Terry, you said it the other day too as well. But fans talk, and they always have opinions and facts that they agree on. But a lot of people have stated that the Taylor Heineke that they brought into Atlanta, that they saw in Washington, that was not the Taylor Heineke that played last season.
Correct.
That was an Arthur Smith-style Taylor Heineke.
Correct.
The one that beat us the past couple years
twice
was the guy that was in the pocket icing our ass, like destroying us. And then he might run every now and then occasionally because the pocket broke down. But he made the throws that needed to be made from the pocket.
Yes.
Put him on the curb, it makes the job easier in the system.
Right. Well, and plus some of the coaching staff knows him because he was in Washington
too as well.
So they, on some level or another, they had to feel like a part of his performance may have been tied to the scheme, may have been tied to the execution of the receivers that we had. Again, if I tell you to run a 10-yard out and you run it at 6, and I'm expecting you to be at 10, it's going to look like the throw is inaccurate. But if you're supposed to be at 10, because a lot of times you may not see the end result. If you look at the coverage, right, and you're an elite processor, and you say, okay, the out's going to be there, I'm throwing to a spot. So if you're at 6, but it goes to 10, well, you may look at it like I'm inaccurate. No, you got a receiver who couldn't get to where he needed to be. Now, I'm not saying that's the case. What I am saying is there had to be some of that in regards to their evaluation of Heineke. Because Heineke beat us not once, but twice. And he came back to do it both times. So,
So for Falcon fans, for maybe what they saw, and this is the organization, I'm thinking, they saw and figured that Taylor would be a better fit behind Kurt. Because honestly, for the money-wise, we could have got some money cutting a guy like Taylor Heineke. But if you look at if Kurt would have went down, who would have been the backup? Some fans were saying, hey, Ryan Tannehill was still available. Jimmy G was still available. Go and check those guys out. Check out to see if you can get another veteran behind there. Taylor, technically, in a way, is still a veteran. He's been in the league for 4 or 5 years now? So, and he's beat us twice. But for the Falcons, and we also mentioned this, some players stay with the new regime. Some players leave.
Right.
It's just how it is. Taylor was the guy that they chose to stay here in Atlanta. That's why I'm thinking, do you want to waste the pick round 2 if Penix is on the board? And you're sitting there like, okay, we got the pick. Penix is still on the board. Let's just take a scenario. Let's just say he's still there. Day 2. Do you want to waste your first pick day 2 and get Penix when they've already made a decision to pay Taylor again and keep him on the team?
Right.
And it's like, well, we can draft a quarterback now and develop him. I'm good if right now with them seeing that they want to keep Taylor and looking at these 8 picks and this defense and these star-studded players in this draft, I'm cool if they don't go quarterback until 5th, 6th round.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that's just going to be here on the team until we release him the following year. I have no problem with that. If they want to do it till it's 2 years for Kirk's deal and then they'll go draft the quarterback the end of Kirk's career that they may know, hey, this is it. Let's go get our guy. I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't have no problem with these moves that the Falcons are making. I'm ready to go win now. But the cool thing about having a podcast here, Terry, we can talk about every different factor, everything that weighs into what the Falcons can do. From AJ Terrell's contract to the money to Kyle Pitts option coming up to Jesse Bates, if he can restructure, to Chris Lindstrom, and if he would restructure, Jake Matthews, Drew Dahlman, the center position, the competition battles. I can give you 100 things right now we can talk about that involves the Falcons.
Yep.
So these are just other topics and conversations that we're bringing up to the table. And for those here in the chat, I thank you for being here talking about Falcons. But Taylor couldn't outright beat Ritter as our QB. I don't trust him as a backup. For the Dixon way, for Larry here, that's an important comment that fans want to see.
That's under Smith's regime, right? Again, and what he's saying is true, but you have to look at the context. He was new to Arthur Smith's scheme, number one. There was no quarterback coach to make the whole concept digestible for him. And number two, I'm not going to say that our receivers were substandard other than Drake. What I will say is they weren't prom queens. I don't even know that they were in the homecoming court, right? To be metaphorical. So my point is, you had a lot of things going on with that Arthur Smith offense. Clearly, there was a misunderstanding and some ambiguity in regards to the route combos, because you had specific, at least 10 to 12 times that I can think of right now. I record the games where you had 2 or 3 Falcons in the same place.
Even for some of the play calling that they gave Taylor too. Some of the play calls that they gave Taylor was like, this is just Arthur Smith. This is bad.
In an NFL game, you should never have that. You should never have that. You shouldn't have 2 in the same. Like if you're talking about levels, one guy at 10, one guy at 20, one guy at 35, that's different. I'm talking about being in the same, within 2 to 3 yards of each other. You should never see that on an NFL team. So that tells you either the receivers don't understand the route concepts or the route concepts are substandard. Either way, you have to take that into account when you evaluate both Ritter and Heineke. So, I say all of this to say, I think what this regime will get from Tyler Heineke will be more like what we saw in Washington. I'm not saying Taylor's a star. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's probably more like the guy that we saw in Washington
pocket passing
than the guy that we saw last year is what I'm saying.
And I know they wanted to run a Ritter style offense. I think fans saw for me, fans saw the competition battle and say, okay, it's Ritter and Heineke. It's Ritter and Heineke. I didn't see no competition battle. It was Ritter. I didn't see it. I saw that they was going to go with Ritter because of what they did the year before with Ritter and Mariota, and fans were excited to have this 3rd round pick in the game. I was perfectly fine with it.
Right.
I had no problem with it.
And when they signed Heineke, because I remember him being interviewed saying this a couple of times, they told him he was the backup.
He is the backup.
First thing they told him.
A 9-year quarterback who beat us twice.
Yeah.
Is the backup to a guy who played 4 games the year before.
Yes.
And the competition battles to go into camp. This is an Arthur Smith decision.
Yes.
And Larry, we need to go find Arthur Smith. But I'm saying, Larry, as a fan, you know it too as well, because everybody's opinion here is great when you're talking Falcons football, because you can see Dixon Wade came back and made another comment. Taylor beating us was more of a reflection of how bad our defensive talent was, more than how good Taylor was.
Twice?
2 different years back to back. I mean,
I don't know about that. I'll agree to disagree.
Hey man, I saw Taylor Heineke when he beat us, bro. I was like, who did we just lose?
One time can be a coincidence, but twice, you beat us twice. Nah.
But I mean, for the team, let's all agree to disagree. For the team, the Falcons could have cut Taylor.
They could have
some money.
They could have. But who else were you going to go and get to back him up, right? Because you and I, and we had this conversation off camera and on camera. Who's available to back up? Who's available that you would say, if Kirk isn't available week 1, doesn't give you anxiety, right?
So here's the
Doesn't
cool
give you a nervous stomach week. Who's available out there?
and here's the cool thing about looking at and big shout out to the Dixon Way because he was on the podcast the other day talking Falcons football with us. Matter of fact, the Dixon Way,
Absolutely.
please, fans in the chat. Hold on, fans in the chat. Let me bring this down. But let me tell you something. We've had a lot of podcasters. We've had a lot of content creators. We've had a lot of guests on the podcast.
Yes, we have.
When I tell you, I have never laughed so hard in my life when the Dixon Way
That
came
dude's
on this
hilarious, man. That soundboard, that dude's hilarious.
He does great
Love me
content
some
right
Dixon
now. I
Way,
believe
man.
he's live streaming or doing some live reports to the college basketball NCAA March Madness. This brother, his team, they stay on top of sports. And when it comes to the Dixon Way, big shout out to Larry and his wife too as well. I know they have a great channel over there. Please go and check out the Dixon Way. Because if it's from college to Braves to Hawks, and don't forget the playoffs getting ready to start for NBA soon. So you guys want to talk basketball and talk Hawks, you might want to go holler at the Dixon Way. But it's always great to talk Falcons football with everybody here in the chat. And if you're going over the NFL free agents for the quarterback that's still available, and we talk about these things beforehand, and then news happens, and then we talk about it afterwards. But that's why the Falcons kind of made the Kirk Cousins move, because maybe they did not want to go into the draft,
right?
Without a quarterback. But Tannehill is still available.
Right, but is
Blaine Gabbert is still available.
Right. You really want
Carson Wentz, Kyle Allen, Trevor Siemian. I think fans, it would be tough if Matt Barkley had to come in behind Kirk Cousins on a couple plays.
Felipe Franks,
AJ
McCarron, right?
From this list, some fans would be upset to see Carson Wentz come into the game.
Right. Now, what I will say about Zach Robinson is he is a quarterback whisperer and a developer of talent, but you have to start with something. And looking at our options that were available versus what you already have, and not only that, but the contract that you have Taylor on, it may not be what you may have to pay some of these guys, specifically Carson Wentz, because he was a number one pick after all. And Ryan Tannehill. And with the exception of them, there's really nobody else on that list that I would even consider. So
I want to see when they get signed, what they get paid. And then I can go and compare between Taylor and everybody else what's going on. But, I mean, look at the quarterbacks available, the backups. To know that the Falcons right now at this moment did not want to choose Kirk Cousins and then have the rest of the quarterback spots blank. To know that they said we will pay Taylor gave them assurance to say, okay, we're cool right now in our QB room. It's not a dire need to go get a rookie to put behind Kirk. That's what I'm seeing as a fan for what the Falcons are doing with Kirk and then Taylor. It's kind of like when they had Matt Ryan and then Matt Schwab. Nobody was calling for Matt Schwab.
Correct.
It's kind of like Buffalo with Kyle Allen or Josh Allen and Mitchell Trubisky. However, whatever Josh Allen does by week 3, week 4, fans are not calling for Mitchell Trubisky.
Correct.
So it's kind of like if you do it for Taylor and Kurt, it's like fans ain't finna be calling for Taylor if Kurt throws an interception week 4 and we lose the game.
Correct.
Still got a whole season ahead of us, and Kurt has been a proven starter. But my thoughts of what I see is they feel comfortable. I'm just throwing it out here. They feel comfortable with a guy that's 9 years in the league, and he has experience as a backup and a starter. And he's comfortable being a backup in a system where maybe for Taylor, we don't know this, he feels comfortable being behind Kurt. Versus Desmond went to a system that fits more so of what him and Kyler are getting ready to do, running around the field and playing piggyback double dutch, whatever they get ready to do.
Correct.
That's just what I see as a fan.
I agree. Let me tell you something. I agree with what you said 100%. I think that where Desmond went is a perfect system for him. I think it's perfect. I don't think there'll be any pressure on him. And I think he will do well in that system to the extent that they have a quarterback's coach. But I think that system is designed for what he does well. I think Taylor being here is also good because we have Zach Robinson. He is a pocket passer. And I
Yeah.
think Taylor will be better under Zach Robinson than he was under Arthur Smith. So I agree with everything you said.
There are some notes. There's some key facts you can take away from why they went with Kurt. Some can say, well, they did just have years of experience with Matthew Stafford in LA, who was 30-something years old,
Yep.
didn't have a playoff win,
Yep.
and he can throw the fucking ball. Oh, that's my first F word of the day, too. But he can throw the ball. He can get the ball down the field. His stats were tremendous. They were great. But he just didn't have a team around him to help go win the big game. You
Correct.
put Zach Robinson, Raheem, and a bunch of these, powerful minds in one room that can help them get over the next level. And sure enough, they do. So maybe for Kurt, that's what they see here. They see a guy that kind of resembles a Matthew Stafford, a Matt Ryan. The elite processors was what always hit me. That day, Berto called me and told me about Kirk Cousins. Berto had me on the phone for an hour just about Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins. And I sat there and I said, Berto doesn't call me and choose violence unless he wants to choose violence. He chose violence that day. But it had me open up to where I even went back to think to myself, elite processor. And I talked to your brother about this. Talk to Eric Parker. It's tough to get. It's so tough to get an elite processor with a rookie quarterback. He has never played a snap in the NFL. How can you say he's an elite processor?
Right.
And then for Kurt, don't forget, elite processor of the quarterbacks available.
Yeah.
We're not talking Mahomes and Josh and Herbert. No.
Yeah.
The ones available.
Right.
Fields wasn't an elite processor in multiple areas.
Correct. And when we say elite processor, essentially what we're saying is you from the get, when you come out and you look at what defense there is, you know where you're going with the ball. And if something changes, obviously you're going to audible out of it.
Yes.
But you have the ability to look at the defense and say, they're in cover 2. This needs to be 15, 17 yards over the cornerback, in between the safety, bam, on the outside, right? Or drag across the middle. But you can process very quickly where you need to go with the ball. And then if something happens, you can go to option 2 or 3 or 4 versus looking at one side of the field, locking in on a couple of guys because they typically get open. That's what we mean when we say an elite processor. To Lisa's question, but she does have a good one. No, they do need the player's consent. You're talking about agreed upon. You're talking about contract terms. So they would need the player's consent to do so, which is a good point, Lisa. But again, in most cases, when you restructure, you're not saying we're going to reduce your salary. You're saying we're just going to change the way in which we deliver this money to you. So as opposed to giving you a salary of $9 million, we'll give you a salary of $3 million and convert the remaining 6 into a signing bonus to be delivered at this point, and this point.
Yes. And for Falcon fans here in the chat, that's why we have this podcast to talk Falcons football with you all. Because it's great to do these things. And we honestly, when we hang up this podcast, we're going to go back and find other ways to talk Falcons football with you all again. So you're hearing it on a scale of fans who want to win. But at this point in March, we're breaking down other things. In a couple of days, we're going to get a couple players or restructure, however the Falcons are going to do it. We're going to talk about that. And then the draft is going to come up. We're going to be here for 2 hours, excited about who's the next player to come in here and make an impact for this team. But the chat is live. The chat is lit. And we honestly can sit here for another 2 hours talking Falcons football. But I do have to get ready to take care of some things. I know Terry has to get ready to start his day too as well. Lisa Shepard, let's go through these questions real quick. Lisa Shepard, real quick. So does the team have to, per view, to restructure or do players have to agree? I understand there would be a conversation, but can the team restructure without a player's consent? No. Yes, they definitely have to agree. You're not going to touch no player's money left and right without calling agents or speaking to the right respected parties and let them know what's going on. Because then that's where the fallout happens, where people start getting out of character.
Well, that's not even possible because they have a union, so you can do that. Now you can cut a player.
Yeah,
you can cut a player.
Some players get surprised quickly, like, wait a minute, where the hell did this come from?
Yeah, right. Right. You can cut a player, but when you talk about restructuring, no, you're gonna need the consent of the player. So that's actually a very good question, Lisa.
Falcon fans in the chat, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. The Dixon Way said, yeah, Arthur Smith is going to get Tomlin fired. And he's not a guru. That's the one thing about Tomlin. He's sitting over there like, I done had all these years of success, and they done brought Arthur Smith over here as the OC. But then again, Tomlin had to be comfortable with that too. I don't think they would make an OC move without going to Tomlin and saying, are you comfortable with Arthur Smith being your
Right.
OC?
And lest we not forget, the offensive coordinator that Tomlin had last year was not good. I'm not going to besmirch somebody's reputation, but if you look it up, if you Google it, the feedback on their offensive coordinator last year was not good, number one. And number two, Tomlin hasn't had a losing career since he's been in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he's had this over 10 years now straight.
One thing Tomlin talks about is not only coaching the players, but coaching and developing the coaches. I'm not saying the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they will be better than last year. Now,
they definitely will be better than last year, but they're going to lose to us, though.
Hopefully, I'm here for it.
They can play both quarterbacks. They're still going to lose to us. The Dixon Way says, man, if Kurt goes down just like most starters, the team is screwed. Let's pray for McGarry to be the best he has been to get Kurt.
That's a good point. That is the
entire offensive line.
That is a good point. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But the entire offense. Some people mentioned Drew Dahlman the past 2 seasons with these low snaps and these high snaps, and Mariota has some bad snaps. Ritter has some bad snaps. Maybe it's because of the quarterback they are versus the center they have. I know it happens in the NFL. Mm-hmm. We're not going to say that it doesn't happen. We're not going to say, oh, Dahlman has to be he's going to throw 100 snaps and he's going to never get one wrong. Sometimes it happens, you know what I'm saying? But then again, fans have mentioned it has happened multiple times.
Right.
Even with Ritter, even with Mariota, when it was like, that's a bad snap. That's a bad snap. That's a bad snap. Yeah. That's a bad snap. Yeah. And fans were saying, can we get a true center in here? And it's not me saying it. Fans have talked about it. So a lot of times when I see things, I do mention what I see. Dixon Way said, yeah, and I don't want to spend a second-round pick on a quarterback either. So I'm with y'all 100%. Build around Kurt. The Dixon Way is a phenomenal, once again, content creator. So please go check out the Dixon Way. Nathan Floyd said, looks like it may be a no-go on Reddick. Moving on to the draft. Any news on Reddick?
Well, let's see.
Is there news? I mean, hold on now. I mean, hold on. We're still on this podcast. I have not hit the button. I did not hit the button. Let's see what we have here. Anything on where's those big ones?
I don't see anything.
Nothing.
It says we wouldn't do it.
Nothing yet. Everything from. We're live here on the podcast. We're checking to make sure no Reddick to the Texans news has happened. Let's see. Austin Johnson. No, that's it. No, nothing so far. Prayer hands. If you get a guy like that, you're gonna start seeing a lot of moves being made to get back some bread, to work back some trade value. Because I mean, Terry's done a great job. We're just gonna leave it at that. He has done some great things here with the organization. The Dixon Way said, this is just some healthy conversations. This is great when you're talking Falcons football with Falcons fans. Tyler Granger said, do you think we get Reddick? Fans here in the chat, they're hype on Reddick. You see what I'm saying? It's not us. It's fans want these guys. They want these players in the building. They know that Terry is a guy that can get it done. Sorry, not you, T. Will. The other Terry. Your 15th brother, Terry T. Will. Terry F. Baby. Do you think we get Reddick? I think we do it. I think Terry. So if I say yes and it's a no, fans will come back and say, you said yes. You have my hopes up. They let me down.
Right.
Matter of fact, hold on. LOL.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way for us to know. There are too many variables at play here. To Lisa's point, these guys have to consent. So
now, do I want him here?
Absolutely.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Does he fit the team?
Yes. Yes.
Can Terry get the job done? Yes, if he wants to.
Well, if the fates align,
yes.
Right? Because the other thing is the guy has to want to come here.
I don't think
Right?
you're giving up that first though for Riddick though. That's not possible. That's not happening.
I don't think so either. Right?
That's not happening.
You gotta, again, hey, some of this stuff is great to discuss, but as far as making it happen, there are too many variables to predict.
But
right?
from hearing the news of when the rumor broke to now, 4 days later, if there was any offer presented, somebody's thinking about it. It's 4 days.
Oh, I definitely think
he ain't signed with nobody else.
Yeah.
The Eagles, all we know is that the Eagles extended some bonus to April 1st, which then fans, that's it. Why didn't you just do it right there? Why would you? Maybe the Eagles are saying we'll give teams to the first to come get this guy.
There you go.
You know, and for me as a fan, do I think we get him? Don't want to answer that one where fans can come at me and say, "Jack, you said that. You said we're getting him." I would like to have him here.
I definitely think the conversations are being had. Right. I definitely think that. What's up, Smitty? I definitely think the Falcons are trying in the background, but to your point, the reason you extend them till April 1st is because you want multiple teams to talk about it and you want the best deal. So if you can get a first round pick for them, that's what you want. And, the Falcons can have a great deal, but if there's another team out there that's like, oh, we'll give you a first, who are you going with? Right? So just depends.
Smitty Sports Machine, Mr. 10K is in the chat. I think the Falcons must draft another quarterback that will fit the system. I do too. I do believe they will draft the quarterback that fits the system. Smitty, where are you at along the lines of drafting that quarterback? I want to see at least 1 through 4, 1 through 5 be your picks on the field. I want to see at least your corner, your secondary, your pass rusher, your interior defensive lineman, your offensive guard. However, and then you can start working your quarterback along, that 4th round, late 4th, 5th round, going perfectly fine with that. But if you're going up 2nd round and drafting the quarterback, Falcons. Well, I have no problem with it. Yeah, but it's just what I'm looking at.
And then it's also about, you didn't pay Kirk Cousins to have somebody start year 2, right? And you also don't want to create a situation where you kind of shoot yourself in the foot. So when we drafted Michael Vick, that first year for Chris Chandler was not a good year. Because Falcons were like, oh, we want Vic, we want him now. And again, fans can be harsh. So I don't think you see the Falcons get certain quarterbacks, not this year. I think if they do draft a quarterback, to your point, Jack, oh my God, Jack from State Farm. Well, I've only done it once today, but to your point,
Zach Robinson said he's not Zach Davis either.
That's good. I deserve that. But to your point, maybe a Spencer Rattler, maybe, someone 4th, 5th round, someone. Now, Zach Milton, kid, let me tell you, one thing he can do, he can throw the ball, sir. He can throw that thing. You hear me? I think he can throw 90 yards. You know what, Jack? He might be able to do 80 yards on the run, sir.
Let's not talk about things that only Jack Spade can do. Smitty Sports Machine. I would love Riddick, but just not that contract. You gotta, but you gotta pay the cost
to be the boss. Yes, sir, you do. Yes, sir, you do. Absolutely.
You know what? This guy's gonna make our team better, and he costs a certain amount. Go get him. But these are splash moves. He's worth it. I mean, the numbers have put up.
It. Right. Believe the numbers on the back of the card.
Let me go look up Hassan now.
Yeah, man.
I just call my Eagles buddies really.
You have to do it.
Just look at let's see what we got here. We love talking Falcons football, whatever, man. Oh my gosh. Come on, man. Are you kidding me? Big shout out to Smitty in the chat.
Smitty!
Hold on, man. Let me put this up, man. Falcon fans in the chat, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Some people will check it offline. Some people love to check it here on air. Falcon fans, the past 3 years with this guy, 12 sacks, 11
12,
sacks,
11,
16 sacks, 11
16,
sacks.
11. Wow. Wow.
Come on, Falcons fans. If the Falcons trade for this guy,
wow.
you're talking about 12 in 2020.
Right.
11 the year after, 16 the year after, 11 last year.
Yeah. I mean, 11 is, God, that we had 42 last year. So that's at least 20%.
The most person, I think Calais and Bud split the 6.5 from that whole pack last year. So you're talking about one guy alone has more than pretty much every man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, Falcons fans.
Yeah.
This is what we want here in Atlanta. You want a pass rusher. You want a guy to get after it. I mean, like Smitty said, you got to pay the cost to be the boss.
Yeah,
and
you
if you got
do.
to pay that man, you got to pay that man. Falcon fan, this is great when you're talking Falcons football with everybody. We're going to probably break that 2-hour mark if we continue this. And I know it's getting ready to happen. But this is great because we do this for the fans, man. It's all about the fan base. You know, we want to bring everybody together. We want this team to be ready to go on and off the field. Nathan Floyd said, thoughts on extending Terrell? Yes. Yes, you don't have a cornerback 2 right now. You need to keep Terrell around. With this team, we got guys like Raheem in the building. When you got players excited to have Raheem in the building, AJ Terrell is a guy you definitely want to keep around. Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. The Dixon Way said, just enjoying this good Falcons content. I know the Dixon Way is getting ready for this March Madness. How about them Zags, Dixon Way? How about Gonzaga? How dare they put us? But they know what they did, though. They put us in a bracket where they know Purdue. Because the Gonzaga's a team where they will get past the first 2 rounds. As soon as they make it to that Sweet 16, as soon as they make it into that Elite 8 shit, it's like, gotta go. Bye.
Yeah.
And it's like Gonzaga. I looked at the bracket and I said, "Oh, this is sweet. This is the path to the finals." And I looked up and I saw, "Oh fuck, Purdue's right there."
Yeah.
And Purdue's playing some good ball this year. So for fans in the chat that's watching, that's listening, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Dixon Way says, hit the like button for this good content. Travis Taylor is in the chat too as well. I'm going to go ahead and say yes, we will get him. Travis Taylor, if we get Hassan Reddick, you make sure you get here to this chat. We're going to get you on the podcast because you saying that you standing on business. Big shout out to Drewski. You standing on business. And you saying that you're going to go ahead. You calling it right now.
He's calling it.
I said I'd love to have him here. Travis pushed me aside and said, fuck out of the way, Jack. He is going to be here. That is the type of fan I'm looking for to be on this podcast. Big shout out to Travis in the chat because Travis wants greatness. Travis wants 11 sacks. Travis wants 16 sacks from a player. That's what Travis wants.
Yeah.
Tyler said, why are we so scared to get a pass rush here? Let me tell you something. I can just throw this out there. My boy Berto is working on something crazy right now. I talked to him this morning. He's working on something crazy. So when he drops it, y'all make sure y'all go check out Berto 95 North, another content creator posting videos too. But he talked to me this morning about some things with the Falcons defense, and it kind of made me thinking, man, I can't wait till you drop this video. But then Tyler's in the chat mentioning something that kind of relates to what Berto's getting ready to drop. For me, it's like maybe it can change soon. I want the star pass rusher guy. I understand. But then some teams are built around just like last year with Ryan Nielsen. You don't have to have the star pass rusher. You can get 40 plus 50 sacks if you do your job and if you have the right coaching to put people in play, even for Grady Jarrett at his career, for Calais where he is in his career.
Yes.
There's still coaching that has to be coached. You have to put it out there so these players can
digest it.
It's that system that they have to be. That's that, man, I'm talking about.
Yeah. You know what? Ironically, the year the Braves won the World Series, Ronald Acuna was hurt. He was having the career of his life. He got hurt at the trade deadline. Alex Anthopoulos went and got 4 outfielders.
Yep.
and the rest is history. So sometimes the collection of parts or the sum of the parts is better than the individual pieces. And that was
Yeah.
truly the case. So, hey, I'd love to have Reddick. I would love to have Reddick. But to the extent that we don't get him, to your point, Jack, if our coaches deliver the messages and deliver the scheme in a way that our players can digest, interpret, and grow in,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't think it matters,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because, hey, let's put our cards on the table. One thing I will say, this offense will score at least 28 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel comfortable going on record saying this offense will score 28 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk will have 30 plus touchdowns this year to the extent that he stays healthy. Maybe under 10 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
4,500 yards. These are just standard. So
Mm-hmm.
you have that. You don't necessarily need a top 10 defense. You can win with a top 15. And I
Mm-hmm.
think what we have in place right now is a top 15 defense. Will we be that? That remains to be seen, right? That's one of those things to where it's the deliverable. Okay. Can we coach up these guys? Can we develop these guys? Can we put them in positions to succeed? Right? As teams see us on film, can we evolve and grow to where we need to be? And only the Falcons can answer those questions. But I feel good about it.
Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Once again, we are almost at well, we keep saying, we're almost at 1,000. We're at like 705, 6 subscribers. If you like what you hear, you love the podcast, tell your Falcons friends, tell your Falcons family, and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Once again, we're just almost at that mark of reaching 1,000. As you can see, the chat is live. The chat is lit. Chat is lit. Positive content creators, Falcon fans here. They just want to see the team win. We talk about so many other things that the Falcons can do to win, and we always bring things to the table too as well. Big shout out to everybody here in the chat. Sip thoughts as we get ready to wrap up the podcast here. We said it like 30 minutes ago, but when fans jump in the chat and still keep talking Falcons football, that's what we do it for. We're Falcon fans.
Go.
We talk about it all day. It's Falcon fans talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday.
Amen.
Why would I not read the comment from a Falcons fan?
Amen, brother.
Sip
Amen.
thoughts said, I would love to get Riddick, but realistically, I don't think it happens. I want him and Justin Simmons and draft Latu with a trade down. You heard it from Sip Thoughts.
Ooh.
You heard it from Ramel in the chat, from Lisa Shepard, from people in the chat. There are different options for fans.
Mm-hmm.
They want to go this route. They want to go this route. Some said go get a corner. Some said take the wide receiver. We can keep adding to this offense. Falcon fans, that's why we are fans, because we all have these opinions about how to make this team better. And we do respect it here on the channel. Shout out to Sip Thoughts in the chat. Travis Preston said, we need a big Vince Wilfork type nose tackle. And you heard comments from Jimmy Lake.
We do.
Your boy Jimmy Lake said we need a true nose tackle. We need a presence in the middle when he did his media day conference, whatever he did. And I want to go ahead and take everybody to the screen over here at a guy that you can get in this draft that I think Falcon fans might want to go watch some tape on right now. This guy, some way, somehow, Terry, not you, Terry F. Baby, over there in Flowery Branch. If you're watching this channel, if you are listening, anybody that wants to email the Falcons and say, hey, look, there's this guy named Jack Spade. Him and this crew, they got this group called One Time for the Fan. They put out some really good content, and they're calling on you, Terry F. Baby. They're calling on you, Terry Fontenot, to draft a guy on day 2, or even in some mocks, he has dropped to day 3. I don't know how he makes it to day 3, but this guy right here, Falcon fans, you might want to go do your tape on. 6'4", 362 pounds of pure muscle and pain for any offensive lineman in front of him. It's going to be a problem. You put him with Grady. You put him with David. You put him with Bud. Hell, I might even bulk up and go play defensive line this year. I might switch from quarterback and go play defensive line. But if you put
yards on the run, 80 on the run.
80 on the run, but I'm coming away with 15 sacks too as well. You put this juggernaut right here in the middle. This guy right here. You put this guy on the Falcons, you're not only gonna make Bijan happy, because that's a Longhorn, but you're gonna make Falcon fans happy. You're gonna say, Terry, you win again. You win again, Terry. Falcon fans that
I
no
wouldn't be mad
draft.
at the pick. I would not be mad at it.
Falcon fans that no draft, no sweat. They know that kid right there in the middle. You're talking about a guy when Grady, what is Grady? 31, 30? What is he?
Yeah.
He's running 30 plus? Falcon fans, tag Terry. When you see Terry at Publix, say, Terry, I know you might do round 1, but let me tell you about day 2. Plug and play.
If you can get him day 2, I'm all for it.
You're talking about teams this season looking at us like, did they just draft Sweat?
Yeah.
Oh my
God! Because then you can put Grady and Onyemata on the outside, and good luck with that. Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
You got Street. Don't forget about my boy Street. Look. This is why we have diehard Falcon fans in the chat. Christian Boyd too as well, who on our other podcast the other night with Country, Steve, Berto, Smitty, we drafted Christian Boyd. He was there in the late rounds too as well. So for fans hearing me talk about Sweat, there's a guy named Christian Boyd that wreaks havoc as well. And Chris 541 is here in the chat telling us. Look at Nathan Floyd. These are people in the chat that follow college football. They not only just watch the combine and watch pro days, they know the players that can make an impact right now. Don't forget, we haven't even mentioned Zach Harrison too as well, what they're going to use with Zach this year. His big frame, what they got going with him. How are they going to use Arnold Ebiketie? They got to unleash D'Angelo Malone. Zoe Carter is still on this team. It's eat season. It's time to eat, y'all. It's time to eat. And hearing some of these names that could be potential Atlanta Falcons soon, come on, Falcon fans. You have to feel good about that. Atlanta Dog 98. Atlanta Dog 88 is in the chat too as well. Christy Lewis is in the chat. And we will break that 7 wins curse this season. This is playoffs. This is playoffs. I've already got my playoff ticket ready. I just need to see when the game is going to be. So, Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. This is great once again. Terry, breakfast with one time for the fan. Falcons fans talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday is working. And next week, we're probably going to have a special guest. This Sunday, we have a special guest, right? We have Scott Karisic, who's going to be joining us talking Falcons football. Myles Garrett from Fox 5. You better be careful. Scott Karisic is catching up on you in shows. He's catching up. So
he's on your back.
We got to get Myles Garrett. We got to get Myles Garrett back soon. So Myles, he keep at the top of that chart there, because he was number 1 for probably most celebrity guest appearances here on the show.
Got to get him back.
Now we got Scott Karisic joining us again Sunday. We're going to talk some Falcons football. We're going to find out from Kurt about this draft. We're going to find out from Kurt. I'm sorry. We're going to find out from Scott about this draft. We're going to find out from Scott about the money. Scott is a guy, if you've followed him on Twitter, he talks a lot about the team outside of what they're doing on the field. Scott is the one to talk about how much cap space they have and how they can get more cap space. And he goes into the books and breaks down the numbers. He's your technical guy. He's in there. He's okay. Look, Falcons, look, check this out. They're gonna carry this $3 million over to this guy for $6 million. They're gonna do the roster bonus here. Watch this. In 2027, you can go back and do this with this guy. Watch this. That's what Scott Karisic does.
Okay.
He's gonna come in here and explain to fans how the Falcons can get back $10, $15, $20 million in cap space, how they can acquire Riddick, how they can go draft this guy and make a trade and go get. He is very good at doing this, right?
Yeah.
I saw him in London too as well at the Falcons game. We stepped outside of the party Saturday night, had a couple words talking about Falcons football for about 30 minutes. So it was great to have Falcon fans going to be with us Sunday night talking Falcons football with Scott Karisic, our special guest on the channel. Terry.
Yes, sir.
We came in here today, and I don't know if you want to show people the itinerary, but we had 3 topics to talk about. Almost
we
2
did.
hours later, we've talked about
Everything.
10 or 15 more topics that wasn't on the itinerary.
Yeah.
But we know this is what Falcons fans want.
Right. Well, and thanks to the fans because they provided some of these topics. So hey,
that's why we do what we do. Terry, as we get ready to wrap it up here, man, this has been great. I'm about to go probably get a couple minutes in at the range real quick. Got to work on my driver and my 7-iron, man. The other day I went out, did good. But man, a couple shots into the fairway, man, I dogged it. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta work on my short intermediate game, especially with my 7 and my 8s. So I need to go out here and work on that. But yes, your boy's driving. Boy's driving about 265, 270.
Good, man. That's
Smack
good.
down the fairway. You should hear when it go.
There you go.
My boy looking at me the other day. He said, "What the hell was that?" I said, I just hit the ball.
That thunder.
He said, "That thunder, boy." I said, that's all you see. That's all you see, man. But Terry, shout outs.
Yeah, definitely. First and foremost, I would like to shout out both of my little brothers, but specifically Eric Parker, who was instrumental in me getting on this podcast. As you know, Jack, Eric kept having conversations with you, and I thank God that he did. This has been one of the most fun and just it's been a great experience. It's been, dare I say it, wonderful. Like it's been great. And my brother Eric Parker is responsible for a lot of that. So I gotta give him his shout out now. Eric, wherever you are, bro. I know you're probably doing the stocks. Cannot thank you enough. Shout out to my little brother Victor Wilson, who has been helping me with my mom. As some of you guys know, my mom, has some health issues. So got to shout him out. Shout out, obviously, to my wife, my wonderful wife, my family, my kids, my coworkers. Shout out to God. Thank you for this opportunity. And obviously, without him, I wouldn't be here. And lastly, Jack, thank you specifically. Jack, you and I talk every day. We are always looking for ways to make the show better. But Jack, you are a builder of content. You're also a builder of men. Guys, fans, one time for the fans, fam, this man spends so much time developing other people. And he really doesn't have to, but he spends so much time. Hey, maybe you should do this. Maybe you should do that. Speaking into people. And Jack is always positive. I've never had a negative conversation with Jack. And I think I've known him, for a good little while now. So, Jack, I just want to give you your flowers, man. I want to say thank you for having me on the show. And the more you keep inviting me, the more I'll keep coming back. And yeah, man, I'm going to defer to you.
Hey, thank you for those kind words, man. Somebody left me a message the other day. Drake Shoe Statement left me a message on the YouTube video. And, Dre's been here for a while. He's seen where we started and where we're going and how many special guests we brought on and the content that we bring. And the big shout out to Chase too as well. Dirty Fanatics United with his channel. Chase can tell you too as well. When I talked to Chase about this podcast, I reached out to him at one point and he was like, I'm not sure if I want to do it. But Chase was always in the chat. And I said, nah, Chase. I said, man, you got it, bro. I said, I'm telling you, bro. But Chase is a diehard Atlanta Falcon fan. And Chase is doing great with Dirty Fanatics United. And all the blessings and respects to them too is over there. Him, Philip, and Cody.
Yep.
And that's great to see that. Because a lot of times fans will look over here and say, where's Chase? And you might see Chase on the show before. But we have lives. We all have lives. And Chase is in the chat. He's talking Falcons football with us. Bodie is in the chat. They're talking Falcons football with us, man. We love what we do. We love
what's
what
up,
we do,
Chase?
man. Big shout out to Bodie too as well. Like,
Chase looked out for me the other day. I think you had dropped out momentarily, and I'm terrible with names. At one time,
he did. I saw in the chat when he
tagged you. And he was like, "So, hey, Chase, thank you, brother. Thank you, seriously." But go ahead, Jack. I'm sorry.
No, that's good, man, because we all here to help each other. And I do thank you, all the content creators out here too as well. That's out here trying to build up the fan base. Let's do what we can do. Because we're gonna win the Super Bowl. We're all gonna be at the parade. Just some of y'all not gonna be where I'm standing, but just y'all just be. It's a joke. It's a joke. I'm just saying, like, I'm gonna be there early. So where I'm standing is like, I don't know if there's space. I'm trying to hold y'all spots, but if y'all park late, some fans gonna be out there like Jeff Wolf. He shows up to training camp at 2 a.m. for a 9 o'clock practice.
He'll be there
there's
first.
Some fans that's gonna be like, front and center type thing.
He'll be there first.
But when it comes to the fan base, I do a lot to try to bring the fan base together. You guys know what I do with the Rise Up Tour too as well. I talk Falcons football from here to there. And for fans that's going on the road, I'm getting a lot of questions and people asking, what are we going to do here? What is going to happen here? The membership, everything. Y'all can reach out to me whenever y'all want, man. I'm trying to really build this fan base up to the level that y'all wanted at. The Rise Up Tour, we've been doing it, like I said, 6 years, going to these away games, putting on these parties, putting on these events. We've taken it to a whole new level. We're in our second year of our membership. So fans that want to be a part of it, of course, we're going to Philadelphia, we're going to Washington, we're going to Minnesota, we're going to Vegas, we're going to Denver. Then we have those 3 teams that we hate in our division. But yeah, bus trips, so many other stuff, community events. We've done a lot here. So the Rise Up Tour is out again for another season, and we're going to have a great time. So if you want to be a member of the tour, hit me up, or you can use the information right there to go and get what you need. But for the Falcon fans in the chat, I do thank you. Shout out to you all. Be great. Enjoy your Falcons Friday. Any news that breaks, I ain't going to talk about it till Sunday. So any news that breaks, y'all enjoy it. Once again, stay blessed. Keep doing what you're doing, because we're doing this well, right? But big shout out. Wait, what's this? Falcons just tweeted something. Come on, phone. What are you doing? What are you doing? What is this? Oh, they tweeted the Bijan over the head video. Got me all excited, like they getting ready.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I'm looking. Boy, he shook dude from Green Bay. God.
Give me that.
Man.
Ooh, slow motion view. Get out of there. 26 was on the ground, boy. Where you at? Matt Collins with a block.
Shook him.
26 need to get up off that ground.
Shook him.
Is that Savage? Oh, that's Savage. Yeah. Savage.
Shook him.
That's nasty.
Aye.
Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. We up out of here. Lisa Shepard said, I love away games, travel, and football. Well, Lisa, we've already had these talks before. You already know where to find me, Lisa. Big shout out to you. We got to get you back on the podcast too as well, Lisa. So definitely, we'd love to have Block and Dirty come back, talk some Falcons football with us. Terry, I thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And we'll see you Sunday, 8 p.m. Scott Karisic, our special guest.
See you Sunday.